The sun had barely risen, casting a soft golden hue across our bedroom, illuminating the dust motes that danced lazily in the air. I lay there, cocooned in the warmth of our shared blankets, the faint sound of my wife's breathing a comforting rhythm beside me. It was a typical Saturday morning, one I had envisioned filled with lazy coffee sips and the gentle hum of our favorite playlist. But as I reached for my phone, a habit ingrained from years of waking up to the digital world, everything changed. The screen lit up with a notification that sent a chill down my spine. A message from an unknown number. My heart raced as I opened it, expecting perhaps a spam message or a reminder from a service I had forgotten to unsubscribe from. Instead, the words that greeted me were a dagger to my heart. "I can't wait to see you again tonight. Just us, like old times." I felt the air leave my lungs, the warmth of the morning replaced by an icy grip of disbelief. My mind raced, trying to comprehend the implications of those words. Who was this person? What did they mean by old times? My heart pounded in my chest as I turned to look at my wife, still peacefully asleep, her face serene and untouched by the chaos that was now swirling in my mind. I needed answers. I needed to know if this was a cruel joke or a reality I was unprepared to face. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake her, and made my way to the living room. The sunlight streamed through the windows, but it felt like a spotlight on my growing dread. I sat on the couch, my phone still clutched in my hand, staring at the message as if it held the key to understanding the betrayal that was unfolding. The minutes ticked by, each second stretching into an eternity. I replayed the last few months in my mind, searching for signs I might have missed. Had she been distant? Had I been too wrapped up in my own world to notice the cracks forming in our marriage? The thought of her with someone else twisted my stomach into knots. I felt anger bubbling beneath the surface, but it was quickly overshadowed by a profound sadness. I opened the message again, my fingers trembling as I typed a response. "Who is this?" I hit send, my heart racing as I waited for a reply. I knew I was crossing a line, but I needed to know. I needed to confront this head-on. As I waited, I thought about the life we had built together. The laughter, the shared dreams, the quiet moments that felt like eternity. How could she throw it all away? The thought of her betrayal felt like a physical blow, and I struggled to breathe through the pain. Finally, my phone buzzed again, and I nearly dropped it in my haste to read the reply. "You know who I am. Don't pretend you don't." My heart sank. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I knew I had to confront her, but how? The thought of facing her, of seeing the woman I loved and trusted, knowing she had betrayed me, was almost too much to bear. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I needed to gather my thoughts, to prepare for the confrontation that was inevitable. I couldn't let her see how much this was affecting me. I had to be strong, to demand the truth. As I sat there, the weight of the world on my shoulders, I realized that this was just the beginning. The beginning of a journey I never wanted to take, but one that would change everything. I had to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The clock ticked on, each second a reminder of the impending confrontation. I could feel the anger rising within me, a fire that would soon consume everything in its path. I was determined to uncover the truth, to confront my wife, and to understand the depths of her betrayal. Little did I know, this was just the first step in a long and painful journey that would lead me to places I never imagined I would go. The sun had fully risen by the time I returned to our bedroom, the light now harsh and unforgiving. I stood at the threshold, my heart pounding in my chest, a mix of dread and determination coursing through my veins. I could see her there, still nestled in the sheets, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. The weight of the moment pressed down on me, and I felt as if I were standing on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. I had rehearsed 1,000 scenarios in my mind, but none of them prepared me for the reality of confronting the woman I loved. "Sarah," I called softly, my voice barely above a whisper. She stirred, her eyes fluttering open, and for a brief moment, I saw the warmth and love reflected in her gaze. It was a fleeting reminder of the life we had built together, and it made my heart ache even more. "Hey, Babe, she replied, her voice still thick with sleep. What time is it? I swallowed hard, the words lodged in my throat like a stone. We need to talk. Her expression shifted, a flicker of concern crossing her face. What's wrong? She sat up, the sheets falling away to reveal her bare shoulders, and I felt a pang of longing mixed with the anger that was bubbling just beneath the surface. Just sit up. Please. I gestured for her to move closer, my heart racing as I prepared to lay bare the truth that had shattered my world. As she shifted, the warmth of the moment faded, replaced by a cold tension that filled the air between us. You're scaring me, what's going on? She asked, her brow furrowing in confusion. I took a deep breath, my hands trembling slightly as I pulled out my phone. I got a message this morning, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. From someone who claims to know you. Her eyes widened, and I could see the color drain from her face. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I held the phone out to her, the screen displaying the damning message. This, I said, my voice firm. Who is this person, Sarah? What's going on? She took the phone, her hands shaking as she read the words that had sent my world spiraling. I watched her face closely, searching for any sign of guilt or remorse, but all I saw was confusion. I don't know who that is, she stammered, her eyes darting away from mine. Don't lie to me, I snapped, the anger spilling over. You can't expect me to believe that. This isn't just some random message. It's about you. It's about us. Please, just let me explain, she pleaded, her voice rising in desperation. I swear, I don't know who that is. I've been busy with work, and I haven't been. Busy with work? I interrupted, my voice rising. Is that what you call it? Because it sounds to me like you've been busy with someone else. Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. But it was quickly extinguished by the anger that surged within me. I can't believe you would do this to me, I continued, my voice shaking with emotion. After everything we've been through, how could you betray me like this? I'm not betraying you. She cried, her voice breaking. I love you. I would never do anything to hurt you. Then explain this. I shouted, my frustration boiling over. How do you explain a message like that? How do you explain the fact that someone is waiting to see you like old times? She fell silent, her eyes searching mine for understanding, but all I felt was a deep sense of betrayal. I don't know, she finally whispered, her voice barely audible. I swear, I don't know who that is. I could see the panic in her eyes, the fear of being caught in a lie. But I needed more than just her words, I needed the truth. If you're telling the truth, then why don't we find out who this person is? I suggested, my voice low and steady. Let's figure this out together. She nodded slowly, her expression shifting from fear to determination. Okay, let's do that. I'll help you. I promise. But deep down, I knew that this was just the beginning. The trust that had once bound us was now frayed and fragile, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than she was letting on. As we sat there, the silence stretching between us, I felt a sense of resolve wash over me. I would uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I would find out who had invaded our lives and threatened the love we had built. And when I did, I would make sure that justice was served. The air in our home felt thick with tension as Sarah and I sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the remnants of breakfast untouched. The sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the uneaten toast and cold coffee, but it did little to warm the chill that had settled in my heart. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us, the silence punctuated only by the ticking of the clock on the wall, each tick a reminder of the urgency of our situation. Okay, I said, breaking the silence. Let's start by figuring out who this person is. I pulled out my phone again, the screen still displaying the message that had shattered my world. Do you recognize the number? Sarah leaned closer, her brow furrowed in concentration as she stared at the screen. No, I don't, she said, shaking her head. It's not someone I've ever seen before. I felt a surge of frustration. How can you not know? This is your life we're talking about. You must have some idea of who this could be. I swear, I don't, she insisted, her voice rising in desperation. I've been busy with work, Anne. Busy with work, I interrupted, my voice sharp. You keep saying that, but it doesn't explain anything. We need to dig deeper. With a heavy sigh, I opened a search engine on my phone and began typing in the number. My heart raced as I waited for the results to load, the anticipation mingling with dread. I could feel Sarah's eyes on me, her anxiety palpable as we both waited for the truth to unfold. After a few moments, the search results appeared, and I scanned them quickly. There's no information on this number, I said, frustration creeping into my voice. It's not registered anywhere. Maybe it's a burner phone, Sarah suggested, her voice trembling slightly. People use those for affairs all the time. I nodded, the thought sending a fresh wave of anger coursing through me. So you're saying this could be someone who's deliberately trying to hide their identity? That makes it even worse. Please, just give me a chance to explain, she pleaded, her eyes wide with fear. I promise I'll do whatever it takes to help you find out who this is. I took a deep breath, trying to rein in my emotions. Fine. Let's start by looking at your recent contacts. Maybe there's someone you've been in touch with that I don't know about. She hesitated, her expression shifting from fear to guilt. I haven't been in touch with anyone, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I swear. Then let's check your phone, I said, my tone firm. I need to see your messages. Her eyes widened in shock. You want to go through my phone? That's an invasion of privacy. Is it an invasion of privacy if you're hiding something from me? I shot back, my frustration boiling over. I need to know the truth, Sarah. If you have nothing to hide, then you should have no problem letting me see it. She hesitated, her gaze dropping to the table as she weighed her options. Finally, with a resigned sigh, she reached for her phone and handed it to me. Fine. Just, be careful. I took the device, my heart racing as I unlocked it and began scrolling through her messages. The first few threads were innocuous enough, conversations with friends, work-related chats, but as I delved deeper, I felt a knot tightening in my stomach. There were messages from a few male colleagues, but nothing that raised any red flags. I continued scrolling, my heart pounding as I searched for any sign of the affair. Then, I stumbled upon a thread that made my blood run cold. It was a conversation with a man named Jake. The messages were flirtatious, filled with inside jokes and playful banter. My heart sank as I read through them, the words cutting deeper than any knife. Can't wait to see you again, one message read. You always know how to make me smile. I looked up at Sarah, my expression a mixture of disbelief and anger. Who is Jake? I demanded, my voice low and dangerous. Her face paled, and I could see the panic rising in her eyes. He's just a friend from work, she stammered, but I could hear the tremor in her voice. We joke around sometimes, but it's nothing serious. Nothing serious? I echoed, my voice rising again. This doesn't look like nothing serious to me. You're flirting with him, Sarah. How can you say it's nothing? I swear, it's not like that, she insisted, tears streaming down her cheeks. We've never crossed any lines. I promise. Then why does it feel like you're hiding something? I shot back, my frustration boiling over. You're telling me you've never met him outside of work? You've never hung out with him? She hesitated, her gaze dropping to the floor. We've met a few times for drinks after work, but it was never anything more than that. I swear. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. So you've been lying to me this whole time? You've been sneaking around behind my back? No. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she cried, her voice breaking. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why didn't you tell me? I demanded, my voice rising again. Why didn't you come to me and say, hey, I'm feeling confused about our relationship? Instead, you chose to flirt with someone else. I was scared, she admitted, her voice trembling. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could handle it on my own. Handle what? I asked, my voice low and dangerous. The fact that you were falling for someone else? The fact that you were betraying me? I wasn't falling for him, she insisted, her voice rising in desperation. I swear. It was just harmless flirting. Harmless flirting? I echoed, my voice incredulous. You think this is harmless? You think this is okay? I didn't mean for it to go this far, she cried, her tears flowing freely now. I just wanted to feel wanted again. I thought it was just a phase, something I could get over. I felt a wave of anger wash over me, but beneath it lay a deep sense of sadness. You don't get to decide what's harmless and what's not, Sarah. You've crossed a line, and now we're both paying the price. As the weight of her betrayal settled heavily between us, I realized that this was just the beginning of a long and painful journey. I had to uncover the truth, not just for myself, but for the sake of our marriage. And as I looked into her tear-streaked face, I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I was determined to find out who Jake was and what role he played in this tangled web of deceit. The tension in the air was palpable as I sat across from Sarah, the weight of her betrayal hanging heavily between us. I could see the fear in her eyes, the desperation for forgiveness, but I felt a different kind of urgency rising within me. I needed to take action, to confront the reality of this situation head-on. Sarah, I said, my voice steady but firm, I can't just sit here and pretend everything is okay. You've been flirting with this guy, and I need to know if it's gone further than that. I need to know if you've been unfaithful. Her eyes widened, and I could see the panic rising within her. I swear, I haven't slept with him. It was just flirting, nothing more, she pleaded, her voice trembling. I promise. Just flirting, I repeated, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. But what if it escalates? What if you end up crossing that line? I can't live in a world where I'm constantly wondering if you're being faithful to me. I understand, she said, her voice breaking. But please, don't jump to conclusions. I need time to figure this out. Time. The word echoed in my mind, a reminder of the uncertainty that now clouded our relationship. I felt a surge of anger at the thought of her taking her time while I was left to grapple with the fallout of her actions. You think you need time? What about me? What about the trust that's been shattered? I know I messed up, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I want to fix this. I want to make things right. I looked at her, searching for any sign of sincerity, but all I felt was a deep sense of betrayal. You say you want to fix this, but how can I trust you? How can I believe that you won't just go back to him the moment I turn my back? Her eyes filled with tears, and I felt a pang of sympathy, but it was quickly overshadowed by the anger that simmered just beneath the surface. I don't know, she said, her voice trembling. But I want to try. I want to be better. As I sat there, the weight of her words hung heavily in the air. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she could change, but the reality of the situation was too fresh, too raw. I needed to take control of this situation, to ensure that I wasn't the only one left to pick up the pieces. Maybe it's time we take a different approach, I said, my voice steady. Maybe it's time we confront this head-on. What do you mean? She asked, her brow furrowing in confusion. I think we need to find out who Jake is, I said, my voice firm. We need to know what kind of person he is and what he means to you. And if it comes down to it, I think we need to inform his wife. Her eyes widened in shock. You can't be serious. That would ruin everything. Would it? I shot back, my frustration boiling over. You've already ruined everything by being unfaithful. If he's involved with you, then his wife deserves to know the truth. But what if it's not what you think? She pleaded, her voice rising in desperation. What if it's just harmless flirting? I don't want to destroy someone's life over a misunderstanding. Harmless flirting? I echoed, my voice incredulous. You think this is harmless? You think this is okay? You've already crossed a line, Sarah. You've put us in this position, and now we have to deal with the consequences. She fell silent, her eyes searching mine for understanding, but all I felt was a deep sense of betrayal. I can't just sit back and let this go, I continued, my voice low and steady. I need to know the truth, and I need to confront this head-on. After a long pause, she finally nodded, her expression shifting from fear to resignation. Okay. If that's what you think is best, then I'll support you. But please, just promise me that we'll figure this out together. I felt a flicker of hope at her words, but it was quickly extinguished by the reality of the situation. We'll figure it out, I said, my voice steady. But I need you to be honest with me from now on. No more lies, no more hiding. I promise, she said, her voice trembling. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. As we sat there, the weight of the moment pressing down on us, I felt a sense of resolve wash over me. I would uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I would confront Jake, and I would make sure that justice was served. But as I looked into Sarah's tear-streaked face, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a long and painful journey. I had to find out who Jake was and what role he played in this tangled web of deceit. And when I did, I would make sure that the truth came to light, no matter the cost. The days that followed were a blur of anxiety and anticipation. Sarah and I had agreed to dig deeper into the mystery of Jake, the man who had infiltrated our lives and threatened the very foundation of our marriage. Each day felt like an eternity as I wrestled with my emotions, torn between the desire for answers and the fear of what those answers might reveal. We decided to start by gathering information about Jake. Sarah had reluctantly agreed to share everything she knew about him, which wasn't much. He was a colleague from her office, someone she had met at a few work functions, but beyond that, she had little to offer. I could see the guilt etched on her face as she recounted their interactions, and it only fueled my anger. Why didn't you tell me about him before? I asked one evening as we sat at the kitchen table, the remnants of dinner still scattered around us. Why keep him a secret? I didn't think it was a big deal, she exclaimed, her voice rising in frustration. It was just harmless flirting, and I didn't want to make you jealous over nothing. Harmless flirting, I repeated, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. You keep saying that, but it doesn't feel harmless to me. You've put us in this position, and now we have to deal with the fallout. I know, she said, her voice trembling. But I want to fix this. I want to make things right between us. I nodded, but the weight of her betrayal still hung heavily in the air. We need to find out more about Jake, I said, my voice steady. We need to know what kind of person he is and what he means to you. With that, we began our investigation. I started by searching for Jake on social media, hoping to find some clues about his life. After a few minutes of scrolling, I found his profile on Facebook. He was in his mid-30s, with a charming smile and a seemingly perfect life. Pictures of him with friends, family, and a beautiful woman who I assumed was his wife filled his feed. I felt a pang of anger as I scrolled through his posts, each one a reminder of the life he was living while mine was crumbling. I clicked on the woman's profile, and my heart sank as I realized she was the one I would have to confront. Her name was Emily, and she appeared to be the epitome of the perfect wife, supportive, loving, and blissfully unaware of the chaos that was unfolding behind the scenes. Sarah, I said, my voice low and steady. I found Jake's profile. He's married. Her eyes widened in shock, and I could see the color drain from her face. What? Are you sure? Yeah, I replied, my heart racing. His wife's name is Emily. She looks like a great person, and I can't help but feel sorry for her. What are you going to do? Sarah asked, her voice trembling. You can't just go and tell her. That would ruin everything. Maybe it should ruin everything, I shot back, my frustration boiling over. She deserves to know the truth. If you've been flirting with her husband, she has every right to know what's going on. But what if it's not what you think? Sarah pleaded, her eyes wide with fear. What if it's just harmless flirting? You can't destroy someone's life over a misunderstanding. Harmless flirting? I echoed, my voice incredulous. You think this is harmless? You've already crossed a line, Sarah. You've put us in this position, and now we have to deal with the consequences. As the weight of her betrayal settled heavily between us, I realized that this was just the beginning of a long and painful journey. I had to uncover the truth, not just for myself, but for the sake of our marriage. After a long pause, I made my decision. I'm going to reach out to Emily, I said, my voice steady. I need to tell her what's going on. Please, don't do this. Sarah begged, her voice rising in desperation. You don't know how she'll react. You could ruin everything. Maybe it's time for some truth to come to light, I replied, my voice firm. She deserves to know what her husband is doing. If you truly care about our marriage, then you should understand why I need to do this. With that, I took a deep breath and began drafting a message to Emily. My fingers trembled as I typed, the weight of my words heavy with the knowledge that I was about to change someone's life forever. Hi Emily, I hope this message finds you well. I'm reaching out because I have something important to discuss regarding your husband, Jake. I believe you deserve to know the truth about his recent interactions with my wife, Sarah. Please let me know if you'd like to talk. I hit send, my heart racing as I waited for a response. The seconds felt like hours, and I could feel Sarah's anxiety radiating off her. What if she doesn't believe you? She asked, her voice trembling. What if she thinks you're just trying to ruin their marriage? Then I'll have to show her the evidence, I replied, my voice steady. I can't let this go. I need her to know the truth. As the minutes ticked by, I felt a mix of dread and anticipation. I had crossed a line, and there was no turning back now. I had taken a step toward uncovering the truth, and I was prepared to face whatever consequences lay ahead. Finally, my phone buzzed, and I felt my heart leap into my throat. It was a message from Emily. Hi, I received your message. Can you please tell me what this is about? I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling as I began to type my response. It's about Jake. I think you need to know what's been going on between him and my wife. As I hit send, I felt a sense of finality wash over me. I had taken the first step toward uncovering the truth, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The silence in the room was deafening as I stared at my phone, waiting for Emily's response. My heart raced, each second stretching into an eternity. I could feel Sarah's anxiety radiating off her, her eyes wide with fear as she watched me, her expression a mix of hope and dread. Finally, my phone buzzed again, and I felt a jolt of adrenaline surge through me. I opened the message, my heart pounding as I read Emily's words. What do you mean? Please explain. I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling as I began to type. I believe your husband, Jake, has been flirting with my wife, Sarah. I have evidence of their conversations, and I think you deserve to know the truth. As I hit send, I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I had crossed a line, and there was no turning back now. I had taken a step toward uncovering the truth, and I was prepared to face whatever consequences lay ahead. The minutes dragged on, each second feeling like an eternity. I could see the fear in Sarah's eyes, the realization of what I had done settling heavily between us. What if she doesn't believe you? She asked, her voice trembling. What if she thinks you're just trying to ruin their marriage? Then I'll have to show her the evidence, I replied, my voice steady. I can't let this go. She deserves to know the truth. Finally, my phone buzzed again, and I felt my heart leap into my throat. It was Emily. I need to see the evidence. Can you send me the messages? I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling as I began to compile the screenshots of Sarah's conversations with Jake. Each message felt like a dagger to my heart, a painful reminder of the betrayal that had unfolded right under my nose. I sent the screenshots to Emily, my heart racing as I waited for her response. The seconds felt like hours, and I could feel Sarah's anxiety radiating off her. What if she's hurt? Sarah asked, her voice trembling. What if this destroys her? Maybe it should destroy her, I shot back, my frustration boiling over. She deserves to know what kind of man she's married to. As the minutes ticked by, I felt a mix of dread and anticipation. I had crossed a line, and there was no turning back now. I had taken a step toward uncovering the truth, and I was prepared to face whatever consequences lay ahead. Finally, Emily replied. I can't believe this. I need to talk to Jake. Thank you for telling me. My heart sank as I read her words. I had opened a Pandora's box, and I knew there was no way to close it now. I'm sorry, I typed back, my fingers trembling. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but I felt you deserved to know. I appreciate your honesty, she replied. I'll handle this. As I sat there, the weight of the moment pressing down on me, I felt a sense of resolve wash over me. I had uncovered the truth, and now it was time to face the consequences. I turned to Sarah, who was staring at me with wide eyes, her expression a mix of fear and uncertainty. What happens now? She asked, her voice trembling. I don't know, I admitted, my heart heavy with the weight of the situation. But we need to talk about what this means for us. As we sat there, the silence stretching between us, I felt a deep sense of sadness wash over me. Our marriage had been built on trust, and now that trust had been shattered. I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I was determined to face them head-on. I'm sorry, Sarah said, her voice breaking. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was confused, and I didn't know how to handle it. I understand that, I replied, my voice steady. But you need to understand that your actions have consequences. You've put us in this position, and now we have to deal with the fallout. I know, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. But I want to make things right. I want to fix this. I looked at her, searching for any sign of sincerity, but all I felt was a deep sense of betrayal. It's going to take time, I said, my voice low and steady. Trust is not something that can be rebuilt overnight. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, she insisted, her voice trembling. I'll go to counseling, I'll be open and honest with you. I just want a chance to make things right. As I sat there, the weight of her words hung heavily in the air. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she could change, but the reality of the situation was too fresh, too raw. I needed to take control of this situation, to ensure that I wasn't the only one left to pick up the pieces. Let's take it one step at a time, I said, my voice steady. We need to communicate openly and honestly from now on. No more secrets, no more lies. I promise, she said, her voice trembling. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. As we sat there, the weight of the moment pressing down on us, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could rebuild what had been lost, but it would take time, effort, and a commitment to honesty. In the days that followed, I reached out to Emily again, offering my support as she navigated the fallout of her husband's betrayal. I could only imagine the pain she was feeling, and I hoped that she would find the strength to confront Jake and demand the truth. As for Sarah and me, we began the long process of rebuilding our marriage. It wasn't easy, and there were days when the weight of the betrayal felt too heavy to bear. But we were committed to working through it together, to finding a way back to each other. In the end, I realized that the journey of healing would be a long one, but it was a journey worth taking. Trust could be rebuilt, but it would take time, patience, and a willingness to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. And as I looked into Sarah's tear-streaked face, I knew that we were both ready to face whatever came next, together.